The Week 3 game of the week lived up to the hype. We had an overtime thriller where Shocker City score 5 points. Windbreakers don't score any, and that's the difference in that one. As Shocker City remains undefeated and handed the Windbreakers their first loss. We're going to break down all the action from Week 3 here on the Postgame Show. I'm joined by the guys, Mike, Brendan, Sean, and Darren. I'm Joey. No Tyler behind the camera. It's a sad, sad day. Connor and Gregory are here. Thumbs up from those guys on the Weekly Rebound, killing it every week on our podcast. Make sure you check that out. And you're watching the Postgame Show, so that's good. We have top plays coming and power rankings as well. Stay tuned for all that. Guys, we'll start with the game of the week. So we picked that one as one to watch. It was a lot of fun to watch. Mike Davis ties it to send it to overtime, so that means the Windbreakers were that close. I know Richard Brunson was saying after the game, like, he missed a free throw and was like, "I cost us the game." That's not exactly how that works. But a big performance from Mike, and I'm curious to see, a lot of you guys caught the end of that game, but definitely want to touch on Shocker City and also what this means for the Windbreakers.
Yeah, that was a high-paced, high-scoring, fun game, just back and forth, nonstop. We saw that Shocker City had 4 guys in double digits, led by Mike Davis and Corey Jacobs with 21 each. That really sealed the way for them. Mike Davis, down by 2, took the inbounds pass, drove to the hoop, and tied it as time expired, which is huge, which gave them all the momentum in overtime, which gave them a 5-0 run, which was the deciding factor, 81-76.
Anything else on this one? Who else is over here? So what about Windbreakers impressed you? Kind of touch on them a little bit.
Well, they were down 10 at one point, and they just fought right back, and ended up taking the lead. Kept getting stops, but Gerald McLeese and Kevon Turnbell combined for 44 points. And they were complaining after the game about not getting the free throw line enough, not a lot of calls their way. So, but they looked good out there. You should be positive going forward.
Every time you thought Windbreakers was out, they would always hit a big 3, get an and 1, big score and stop. So they were very impressive.
Yeah, and I think I think one of us mentioned to them, like, you're going to lose. No one wants to lose, but this is not the worst way you could have lost against another really good team. Trying to measure yourself as we get to the a little closer to the playoffs, and definitely the attacking style. I think the Windbreakers from last season. I mean, you may remember a little bit, but they added some of those bigger bodies like a Gerald McLeese, who was noticeably present in this game, and I think that bodes well for them. As they get to take on some of the other
helps them out defensively.
Higher teams, for sure. In our little pre-show meeting, Darren made the point about Team Moose. And so let's get to them next. Team Moose takes down Young Kings 108-80, and he was like, yeah, they won by a lot, but, like, it's a great game. So, hey, we know everybody was there for Team Moose today.
Yep.
So that was a big thing. We got to see them in action at full strength. And then you were talking about a couple players on the Young Kings who impressed you as well.
Yeah, Miles Raymond, 33 points. Eddie Whitman, 29 points combined, had 12 threes together. They definitely put up a fight. They're not no scrub team. They can definitely score the basket, but Team Moose, they got to be the best team in the league right now. They had all seven players for them scored double digits, including Brad Seaman. He had a double-double, 100% from the field, and he messed around, almost got a triple-double. So, you got to tip your hats to those guys.
Any comments on the Young Kings?
Yeah, they put in a good fight, but it just wasn't enough. Team Moose is playing just really good basketball right now, helping out on defense, passing the ball really well. They shot 70% today, so they're just thriving right now. And,
we're going to talk a lot about, I think, those two teams as the season goes on. Young Kings have a win? I think so.
Yeah, they got one.
Right? So 1 and 2, they're starting to hit that skid. We're going to see how they bounce back. Next week, Team Moose, undefeated, taking down the Throne in Week 1 in their big contest to date. Dinner served and above the rim. Our 9 o'clock games were, I would say, some of the teams more in the middle of the rankings, but I think the games were tightly contested, to say the least. So Dinner served gets their first win, 76-65 over above the rim. That was on court 2. So what did you guys see from Dinner served, and who stood out?
Dinner served, they had to get their one win, especially after last week. Joey and his guys, they blew them out. So, it's good to see them finally get that one win. But Matt Tarasi had 24 points. He missed 5 shots of his 15 shots. So, it was a pretty solid win for those guys.
Anything else about Dinner served? No? Big first win.
Yeah.
And I know they had more guys here than last week, right? They had more than
definitely.
4, which that always helps. We're going to get to Sportsbook in a little while, who definitely had more than 4 guys, which was a big thing for them. That other 9 o'clock game, the Headhunters. So Jacob Caselli gets his first win in Week 2, is like, I want more of that. bring that on. So the Headhunters get another win. Brett Cody again, another big game. And we've talked about this a lot. He hit a little hot streak there, hitting a couple threes, little floater. Was really helping that team put away Jay's trays and fadeaways, 56-43. I think it's a tale of two teams because Headhunters are playing well right now. They got an interesting matchup next week. They're already talking about that one against TMC. But Jay's trays and fadeaways, coming off of last week, they fight the throne. Jason Hernandez is, giving them praise the entire game as he's watching them with me. This dude's a scrapper. They played it so tough last week. And then to come out and for Jay's trays and fadeaways, we're starting to get, a little hot on them. I think they can compete with some of the good teams like the throne. And then they come out and I don't want to say lay an egg, but I don't think they performed as well as they wanted to this week. So, what happened?
Brett Cody really just took over this game. There was a point where he hit 3 threes in a row late, and every time they needed a basket, Brett Cody was the guy and delivered every time.
Yeah, Greg was telling me he had Jay's trays and fadeaways as his number 5 in his power rankings.
Well,
I mean, they tried to come back a little bit, but Brett Cody, not even just him, but they just hit a lot of timely threes late in that game.
Yeah, Greg's power rankings on the podcast need to be checked before they go on the air. TMC out of the top 4. I mean, I don't know what else we need to do. So direct shots, I think, at certain teams for Greg. Yeah, who's missing? Connor and I are looking around for him. We're making fun of him. Can't find him. He'll see it. Blue Devils in the throne. So speaking of that throne team, coming off a tough game against Jays in week 2, they take care of the Blue Devils 68-57. They had Russ Payton for the first time, so I'm interested in what you guys thought of him. I don't even know if he had a Russ Payton game, quote unquote, but the throne, I think was definitely looking better this week than last week.
Yeah, the score didn't do the game any justice. It was a pretty tight game throughout, but the throne pulled away. Russ Payton did have a pretty good game, 19 points, 8 rebounds. 6 of those rebounds were offensive. He played a solid game there, though.
Yeah, Jason Hernandez as well had 19 points. They just wouldn't let the Blue Devils gain momentum as they fall to 0-3 this year.
Yeah, Jason was saying after the game, too, it's a little different for him this season compared to last season, where he's like, yeah, I'm open. They're so worried about everybody else a lot of the time that he just gets open shots. He's like, it's nice. This is how it's supposed to be. It's a lot easier for him to score compared to last season. He was saying he had to initiate a lot of the offense, and they were more focused in on him on that throne team. So, I mean, he definitely can produce, as we've seen. So we'll see if he gets more effective, right, and easier shots, and if he can produce on those. The other game at 8 o'clock, Run TMC and Nothing Easy. Yeah, he's smiling. Yeah, so you were gushing blood the whole thing. I swear I didn't do it. But Run TMC 105-80. And it was, I think the second quarter was your guys' best quarter. Played us pretty even. And then from what I said in the post-game interview, I think a third quarter barrage kind of didn't finish you guys off because you guys fought the whole game, but was the difference in the game, that third quarter.
Yeah, we just couldn't get timely stops, and every time we started to make a little run, you guys would just come back and nail a couple threes, which really killed us.
What'd you see?
Our buddy Mike tried to keep Nothing Easy back in here, had a bunch of buckets, but Reggie Stewart, 32 points, Eric Singleton, 25 points, and Will Hudson, 23 points, who also showed up late and just started hitting right away. When you guys get those guys going, it'd be tough to beat.
Ooh, start thinking about your outstanding player from the week. You mentioned a couple right there. It's never a bad thing to pick a Run TMC player, but think about your standout player from the week. We're going to do that in the end. One more game. Sportsbook gets their first win. We talked about them being undermanned a lot. They had 6 guys tonight. Tyrell Holmes, you guys got to see for the first time. He's a familiar face with that team from last summer, I believe. He's played with them before. They take care of Nick Strong, 73-54. They kind of blew that one open and held them off for most of the game. A lot of us saw this one, so we can kind of chime in. I think Sportsbook, after 2 tough games to be 0-2, are now going to be a team that we kind of have to keep an eye on, right?
Sportsbook finally showed us their true potential by finally having more than 4 guys. And they look that they could be a dangerous team in this league and make some noise when they all show up.
Exactly. I mean, they had full strength, and they just got going. Dan Kokoros had 26 points and 10 rebounds. He was on fire there in the second half.
And so one of you guys can take this one. Now, Nick Strong, right? They come in the scrimmage game, the preseason game, take care of business. Week 1, beat the head honchos, right? So 1-0. They've lost 2 in a row. So what do you see from that team? Why are they losing these games, and what do they have to change to bounce back?
Granted, one of the losses came from Team Moose, one of the best teams in the league. But today, they were out of it. Those guys didn't look like that team that that came into the season won the preseason game and the first game. They didn't look like that same team.
What do they have to change?
Well, they have to get on the same page. That's one thing. They're playing hard. They don't have much depth. Today they only had 5 guys, so that could help. But they just got to keep moving the ball, getting open shots. They have very good three-point shooting, so they just got to work on that and keep shooting threes.
I agree. For a new team, that stood out. You know how well some of these new teams can shoot on the lower rim. We've all played on low rims before, but it is different in a game. You know, inside with refs and like that shooting touch. So yeah, they do shoot it very well. Let's get to your standout player. I don't want to take surprise on the rise from the weekly rebound, but it's in that style. Player that stood out, that maybe you weren't expecting to stand out, or you can just say it was your favorite performance from the week. Does anyone have one?
Miles Raymond.
Okay, from Young Kings, you're very
From
high
Young
on
Kings,
them.
yeah.
Okay, what did he do?
33 points. He had a bunch of posters in that. He pretty much, I don't want to say he was the only player putting up effort, but he kept the team somewhat alive in the game.
I'm going to go Mike Davis. He's just
Yeah.
being himself. The late shot, of course, he's the one taking that shot because he comes through in the clutch there, and he really helped them get the win today.
Yeah, it was a bold strategy for the Windbreakers to Mike Davis, who in the post-game interview last week, very, very bold strategy. And both him and Richard Brunson were locked in. They obviously know each other outside of this, so it was a good kind of competition, but both of them wanted to kill the other team. And, you know, Mike gets like the last laugh, so to speak, with his team winning. Yeah, so standout player, surprise on the rise.
Reggie Stewart from you guys. I mean, he just controls the pace for you guys and does absolutely everything. He's all over the defensive end, all over the glass, and could knock down the 3 as well.
Yeah, he was shooting it pretty well today. Never a bad choice.
I'm going to go with Corey Jacobs, who had 21 points in this thriller. If it wasn't for him, this team, that could have been a totally different outcome. And when they needed him, he really stepped up and delivered.
I think 2 quick things. His size, when the Windbreakers went big, was important on the defensive end. His ability to play defense on the ball. And then he was attacking the basket, getting to the free throw line, and kind of keeping the Windbreakers in check, slowing the game down, hitting those shots. Yeah, he's going to be someone to watch for that team for sure. That'll do it for week 3. Good job, guys. That was very good. So you can stay tuned for the podcast, power rankings, everything else on the website, though, legacyleagues.com. For the guys, I'm Joey. Week 4. Anyone know the big matchups? I know TMC Headhunters is not going to headline the week. No? Nothing? We're very prepared for this show. Check the schedule page. You can see the week 4 matchups. And we'll see you next Monday for some more Legacy Leagues action. Yeah.